journey and doing our writing 3 things down that you're grateful for.
I did this last time.
Just keep the same.
It's good, it's good.
Oh, it's on my desk.
We're writing down
You're
3
back.
things we're grateful for, Trudy.
I'm grateful that Kelly has paper.
FCA.
Okay. Hey, did you need paper?
Sure.
I'll share it. You're grateful that I share it.
Here we go. Grateful for sharing.
This is good. I'm grateful for the generosity of my colleagues.
Jimmy Fallon.
Thank you. My favorite artist singing.
All right, anyone care to share either what they wrote down, or we have a handful of grateful messages that were distributed, if anyone has one of those and wants to share it. Or if you need another minute, that's fine too.
I'm grateful for 19 years of marriage.
Anniversary.
This week?
Yesterday.
Well,
Very
congrats.
awesome.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
You must have been like 12.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know. I heard about this birthday and I was like, holy cow, you had your kids when you were 20 and 30 and I had mine when 30 and 40 and like, it is, wow.
You know, pros and cons to each, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Anybody else?
I'm super thankful for Thai Pop coming to my house.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. For those of you who have not experienced Thai Pop, see Megan at the team meeting. It's amazing.
Yeah, what is
It's a pop-up restaurant. This girl, Annie Belo, she's from Thailand and she does a 6-course meal, which turns into 7 courses because then she always has a surprise course and it's in the back of Forager. They have that pop-up area that they designed specifically for that. So they're there several times a year. So like their last one was, I think, May 1st and they're done now until fall, but they're actually gonna come to my house and make a 7-course meal.
No way.
Like 21 guests coming, so.
Yummy. So sign up the next time you see it.
Yeah, that sounds really good. That's really
So my husband picked 2 courses, I picked 2 courses, and Annie picked 3, and we told her we didn't wanna know.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
Anybody else? Any other grateful messages or things that you're grateful for that you want to share?
I'll share. So I'm thankful for my team
Oh,
and the spirit of my team.
yeah, absolutely.
We had a meeting before we came here and just shared some great things with each other and even sang together. We haven't sung together before. It was
It's nice to
awesome.
have that support, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's good.
well, good, all right,
Yeah,
yes,
it's a great
grateful for a good team.
I'm grateful for your team. I think some of the best people in our office.
Oh,
Aw, yeah, I agree.
me too. I am grateful for a flexible schedule.
A flexible schedule. How
I
nice is
just
that then?
realized that I am missing my man
Oh.
after like 3 or 4 months of this.
Yeah.
He works nights and all of a sudden I just realized we have not connected. So I'm gonna change my schedule just a little bit, a couple days a week so that we can reconnect
Yeah.
and make that a priority, so,
So important, right? It's,
yeah.
You know, that work-life balance,
Mm.
family business, all right, next one. Who
I'm
else?
thankful for my kids are doing great.
Oh,
And we were all gone on Saturday. Like we literally had no kids.
So
And I
why
was
they doing
thankful
great?
for that too.
Yes.
But my husband and I just made a fire Saturday night, just sat out and like green pastures and quiet waters, right? Versus the valley of the shadow of death. It feels like we've been walking in the last 2 years. And it just was good for my soul.
Oh,
good.
nice.
Yeah. That's good.
Love it, love it. Any grateful messages that we sent around or anything else anybody wants to add?
I am grateful for Tim stopping by the other side of the U to check in on us.
Okay.
I don't know what that means.
Well,
This is
Yeah.
you, I'm assuming.
okay.
Oh, I see. I was trying to make it DU.
Yeah,
was.
We could call, so which direction are we facing this way?
North.
So we could have north, south, south side. Call it the U, I like that better. All right, anything else? Anyone else want to share anything you're grateful for?
I'm grateful for great sales, and I'm not talking real estate.
Okay.
I
Oh,
found
Shopping?
I was shopping yesterday and I found a great deal.
All right. Well, is the
$70.
deal that you need to share with the rest of us,
Sure,
but is that
it's these
great?
pants.
Okay. Did you say $7?
No, they
Oh.
were $70.
Oh.
I didn't really want to pay that.
Right.
And they were the only pair of pants like this I saw that just happened to be my size. I mean, there were no other of them. It was just this one. And it was on a sale rack, but it wasn't marked like the other things. So I took it up and said, is this on sale? It was $14.
$70 pants for
Sold.
$14. I like the color. Very nice.
Well, thank you. Very few things people say they like that I actually picked out myself.
I think they look very nice. All right, any others before we move on to, we'll just kind of go over, oh, that's got one, sorry.
The summer outing at the Honkers.
Yes, thank you
Yeah,
to
that was
Christina
fun.
and Katie for organizing that and putting that in the, it's just nice to get outside of the office and, you know, hang out with each other where it's not
Really
always
super
about
nice.
business and just kind of get to know one another on a
My
more.
husband was there.
He was.
And your dog.
Yes,
I know.
yes.
Your dog, did she come home? She had a belly full of fun food. She was under that table eating. Every day.
We could not have ordered better weather too.
It was
great. It
perfect.
was just perfect
The
out.
food was really good too.
Yeah,
It was.
So was the company.
Was that their food or did you?
It was their food.
They catered
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Catered it.
Victoria's
Victoria's
Secret
Secret.
Crystal.
And the rules whole.
The brisket was really good.
I'm
like,
thankful for, the event training that Zach and Carly did last week at 125 Live.
Thank you for bringing that up. We're gonna talk about those of you who are there. We want to share some of your ahas a little bit later in the meeting. So thank you for bringing that up. I'm grateful for that too. Did you have one, Megan?
Yeah, this one is, I am grateful for leadership that cares.
Oh, awesome. Yes, we do. We care very much. I'm grateful for them too. All right, so with that being said, we're just gonna go over some of the things that we have on the calendar for the rest of the month. Maybe talk about a couple of things for next month. So today after the team meeting, or rather towards the end of the team meeting, we're gonna have Taylor Metcalf with Country Financial, who happens to be one of our preferred vendor sponsors on the back of our calendar. He's gonna come in and speak with you guys for a little bit and provide lunch. So I don't know what's on the menu, but I'm sure it'll be something yummy, and it's always nice to have lunch brought in. So, we have that to look forward to, and then Miss Carrie Brand is teaching a class on listing and buyer templates tomorrow.
Yes.
And
You
for,
want to get more organized.
yes, for those of you who are not
Efficient.
utilizing that, and Carrie, if you're around later and I'm around, I might shoot a quick video with you explaining
Yeah.
exactly what that class is, and we'll post it on the
Yeah.
Facebook group. Okay, perfect, thank you for teaching that. And then we have Sally with AMIC, another lunch tomorrow, so a lunch and learn tomorrow, right after Carrie's class, and that's from 12 to 12:30. Katie on Thursday, customizing your place setter website. Cindy in Onalaska is doing tech tips, and then Friday is the first day of summer. Woo-hoo. I'm hoping the weather's supposed to be nice.
I would like to get a spot of sun, so my son.
Guess what? It's
closed
gonna
at work,
rain.
So
Is it supposed to rain on Friday?
Prediction.
Oh, I hope not.
everything
It
on
just
my-
feels like it.
And then too, you guys have probably noticed Katie is teaching that boot camp class twice a month, so the next one's on Monday from 1 to 3. And Katie, what else did you go over?
Submitting files, and then the review process that those files go through. I touch on resources where you can find some of the colorisms that we talk about, and the resources behind those. How to create green sheets, how to access transaction checklists and transaction desk, forms, and then I answer questions around those.
So even for those of you who, you know, have a few transactions under your belt, it's still not a bad refresher. And most certainly, it's good for our folks that are, you know, newer to us as well. So if you happen to be in the market center and there is a new agent, obviously our culture is, you know, if we can, to stop and help and whatnot, don't be afraid to remind them too, to check out the training calendar, and that Katie does that boot camp, you know, class twice a month, and encourage them to, you know, attend that. We want to make sure that we're getting everybody what they need at the level that they're at. So, and then next week, we're gonna finish out the month. Can you guys believe next week is the end of June already? It is flown by. It's like flown by. Karen Baldridge is gonna come in and talk about negotiations. She's really awesome when it comes to negotiations. So she's gonna teach a class on that. More tech tips with Cindy and on Alaska. And then we have Sally again twice on the calendar this month. That's awesome. She's gonna be talking about lending changes and new option down payment assistance. So she'll be in on, next Thursday. And then we're gonna finish out the month with Power Day. Do you guys remember us talking about Power Day? It's a day where we're all gonna come into the training room and collectively just spend, the morning and afternoon doing some form of lead generation. So we're excited about that as well. For those of you that are tracking, team meetings, we set those this morning. They're gonna, for the month of July, it's a long month. So there's 5 Tuesdays in July. We are gonna have it July 2nd, which is a little tricky. It's 4th of July week. And oh, by the way, we are closed on the 4th and 5th of July. So the 4th of July this year is on a Thursday. So the office will be closed on the 4th and the 5th. So that'll be a short week, but we're gonna squeeze in a team meeting, and then we're gonna skip a couple of weeks, and then our next team meeting, because of the long month, is gonna be on the 23rd. And on that 23rd, our goal as part of that team meeting is to, on the 23rd?
July 23rd.
Yeah.
Jeff Grover's.
Is that date?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
Yeah, we may have to relook at that. I'll look at those dates. For now, we're going with the 23rd. Whatever that second meeting is in July, we're gonna put together a mega agent panel. So we're gonna have a panel of mega agents up here sharing best practices. Maybe we'll come up with a topic, but how do they find the success that they're having? What are they seeing
Please reschedule that.
in today's market?
So I
Yeah,
would like to
and we
do
should
that.
probably just take an accounting of who all is gonna be at Jeff Glover. I don't remember who signed up that day, but maybe we'll put something out on the Facebook group so that those that are going to raise their hand, we can plan accordingly. Thank you for reminding me of that. Okay, so training calendar, check. Recognizing any new cappers. So last week, I didn't realize this until after the team meeting, and he's not here today, but Aaron Froberg capped last week, so we will give him a round of applause. And he got his capper mug. And then Carrie, did you want to do the why?
I would love to. I would love to do that every time. So, you know the drill, jump on your Facebook page. And just to keep this front and center on other agents who are looking at our stuff, who you're friends with, why I love KW. And make it stick out, maybe add a fun background. It wants to be.
Anybody care to share what they posted? Still thinking. I'll start. Why I love KW, and I said culture of collaboration. A lot of my appointments lately that I've been having, some of the agents that I'm meeting that are with other brokerages really miss that. They miss, or they just don't have, they've never had it. And that's appealing to them. And it's one of the things that I love most about our culture here is that we're willing to collaborate and have master panels and share best practices with one another. Anybody else?
That was my word as well this week, was collaboration.
Really? Okay, awesome. Great minds think alike. All right. Well, thank you for doing that. And then we are gonna have Miss Katie O'Brien come up and share all of our numbers and how those are looking.
They're looking good.
They're looking
They're
great.
looking good, yeah. They don't have a lore report out yet. I'm still waiting for CMAR to produce their focus report. So as soon as we get that out, we'll send that out for you guys to use in your presentations. But these are May financials that closed out the month of May. So really exciting news. We closed 135 units, which was an all-time record for the company. So lots and lots of closings in the month of May. We wrote 25 more contracts than May of last year, so projecting very well looking forward. But one of the most notable increases was the closed GCI, which is gross commission income. That is your money. and that was up over $130,000 month over month. So over last May of 2018. So congratulations to you all on making more money. We get really excited when that number is up for you guys. Our listings taken were down slightly with just 4 less units taken. Our listings taken volume was down significantly, but May of last year was skewed extremely far. So hard to kind of compare that to May of last year because it was just so different than normal. And then our expenses were down 18% month over month. So we're really watching our expenses, trying to drive up our profit share, which
Nikki got paid a lot.
So our profit share was actually up 13% month over month with a total of $27,000, and we're up year to date in profit share at 20% greater than May of last year. So that's a huge increase in profit share. So excited about those numbers, excited about what's yet to come from looking at the numbers that are kind of our windshield numbers, and excited for you guys.
Yeah, in other words, you guys are crushing it, you're killing it, so good job. Put yourselves on that. Thank you, Katie. I've had Katie and I continue to receive leads for, potential candidates for the agent services coordinator position, and we are so grateful for that. We're thankful for that. We have made an offer to an individual, and if all of that pans out the way that we all hope it will, that person will be starting and transitioning into that role July 1st. So just know that that's something that is going to be coming down the pipeline. What else do we have here today? All right, so as you guys know, we made the transition in brokers, actually both the Wisconsin and Minnesota. So Julie Neitzel is out on Alaska, Winona. And then Tim here, of course, has taken over those reins, along with his right-hand gal, who is helping audit the files. So what Deb does is she does an initial audit on the file and flags anything that she thinks, she needs to draw Tim's attention to. And then of course, because he's the broker of record, he has the final ones over of those files. But as we get busier, we're finding it necessary to have that extra, support. And Deb has been kind enough to volunteer to do that for us. So we are moving forward every team meeting, as long as the schedule permits, want to have either Tim or Deb come up and just talk about either things that they're seeing in the files or common questions or common things that are happening in the market that they're running into. So Deb has agreed to come up and share some of what they've been seeing recently with us today.
So as always, the one thing that we're not completely in control of is the seller's property disclosures. And those seems to be the one that I think that you get shot back things about. So certain lines to pay attention to. Line 38 is the location of the abstract. They don't know. And honestly, it doesn't matter anymore because everything is digital. But because it's on that sheet, it's legal document and it's one of those lines that's required. That's one that you'll get shut back. Line 204 is a really popular one. And we've cleaned up so much. It's crazy, but that's that special well construction area. But just because of the way it's located on there, it's just in a bad spot. And so that line 204 is really popular. Line 305, which a lot of people, we haven't shot a lot of them back, but it talks about replying to radon testing. So if you have had radon testing, if they've had radon testing and they say yes, and then it says on line 305, it talks about, give us the details or anything about that or submit any type of documentation. If they just know the radon levels were low enough where we don't have to report anything, put that. Have them put that. Make sure that they say something, or if they're attaching a document, see attached document. But if they can, suggest that they fill that line in. And one other thing that is just important for the whole office and the functioning is when we do our contracts with our clients, some people have a tendency not to put the phone number or an email or the address on that last page where they're signing. If you can, just pay special note to that. Fill those things in so that.
I didn't need all of them.
They don't need all of them, but the office asks for them. And Katie probably has a better answer than I can give you, but it helps in communication purposes.
I would argue too that for the Department of Commerce, from that perspective, if they were to ever come in and audit files, I'll speak for myself, I wanna make sure my I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and contracts are filled out completely. And I think it's just a good practice to do that from the beginning or with every single file, because the question might be, well, why is this one fully filled out and completed, but this one's not? Or, why is this information missing? And I've been guilty of not filling that out before, because we're all busy and you're just like, you wanna get it done and in, or you missed it and you don't wanna go back and get it, and
If you have listing contracts,
what's that?
odds are almost always, and not, I can see filling it out if you've got somebody who lives in California and they have an investment property, but otherwise their address is the same as, pretty sure nobody here is reaching out to them via mail.
Well,
I mean, to me, it was
let
just
me put
always
it this
one
way.
thing, like, as long as you have like the phone number, or, like, I totally get, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, you or somebody has to be able to get a hold of my clients in some way, shape, or form. So if I got a phone number or an email, like,
My best way to answer that is to say, it's an empty blank that they're asking us to fill.
It's
And
there for a
as,
reason.
and as the broker, we're just obligated to ask for this information and have it, it's that compliance thing. And Erin has said this several times, we're just doing everything that we can to keep you safe and protected. So it's not a bantering type of thing, it's just what they require, so we're like, please fill it in. That's just my best answer. I don't necessarily know the correct answer, Megan. I just know it's required, that they asked for us to have it filled in.
So when I was an admin, when I first got into real estate, these files would come across my desk and it would have a name and no address or phone
Right,
number.
and it's
I was
pain in-
lost.
it was
Like,
pain
I
in the butt.
need that.
Yeah.
So in the same way, if Katie ever needs to follow up or the broker ever needs to follow up, they have that information. So I think it's just saying this is the complete picture package of this person.
Well, and quite frankly, when I think about my network of people and filling in command, I want all that information. So it only helps if we have it from upfront. It just helps us with our business. There was one other thing, if you ever have anything that you want BrokerBit to be on, leave a note. Lori just said a really, really good one. She said, what are the most popular things that the ethic board has had, that's been brought to the ethic board? What should have been done differently? And so I'm like, that's good, because sometimes we don't know what we're doing wrong, or that it's like, ooh, so.
Thank you, appreciate it. All right, any questions on that at all? That kind of helps us segue into, we brought up this conversation two meetings ago, maybe it was last team meeting, we talked about it, I think at the ALC meeting. We talked about the earnest money, right? So I did some more digging to get more reasoning behind why it was okay, it wasn't okay, now it's okay. Well, if it's okay now, why was it at one time not okay, right?
Okay,
Because-
for what?
To have a copy of the earnest money check in your other, okay, sorry, I apologize for those of you who were during that discussion. So, there was a point in time where they said, no, we don't want it, okay? And I'm being told that that's done from when I talked to the powers that be, some of the top brokers in the cities and attorneys, is that when you stop and think about it, for those of us who have been in business long enough to remember when fax machines were being used, it actually wasn't that long ago. It seems like forever ago. I can't remember the last time that I used one, but that came into play because if you were in an office at that point in time and you stop and think about it, our front desk isn't secure. When there was a fax machine, I would imagine back there at some point in time, anyone, quite frankly, after hours, during hours, whenever, could go walk up and if they're looking for a fax, pick up theirs, but rifle through maybe 2 or 3 others, right? And so that was more of the concern, because if there was something sitting on there, a copy of a financial document or a copy of a check, we had no way of knowing really who had access to it, when, how, what they might do with the information and whatnot. So, then the rules sort of changed and it was implemented that, don't send those copies anymore. Now they're segueing back to, it's a liability reason for the brokerage. We need a copy of that check. It's gonna be in .loop, and to your point, which was a good one, Megan, well, what happens when someone, infiltrates .loop? Well, .loop has insurance for things like that. The other thing about .loop, and the reason why it's going back to copies of the check, is .loop, as you guys know, has a fingerprint, right? It has that unique ID number. So you may or may not know this, but anytime someone touches a loop, whether it's the broker, whether it's the person putting in the listing, whether it's the agent, that's logged. It's logged how many times they're in the loop, it logs what they do in the loop, it logs, you know, all of that. So if there were some sort of security breach or an issue that happened, we'd be able to narrow it down with a pretty good, certainty of, who that person may be. So the reason, what's that?
I mean, I don't think you worry so much about an agent getting into stuff, it's the system being hacked.
I mean, that's possible. I mean,
We have been.
it is possible.
Been hacked into, their system's been hacked into, so.
It is possible, and when I asked about that question, they said, well, Dot Loop has insurance for those sorts of things. Here's why we need, more important, this is why we need a copy of the check. We need a copy of the check because if for some reason the deal weren't to go through, and we've got a refund, we've got to take money out of the broker trust account and refund someone, we need proof that the payment was made. And a receipt saying the check is written isn't the same as a copy of the check that we've received. And so we've got to have that in there. If you're super uncomfortable with that, or you've got a client that's really uncomfortable with that, well, who can tell me what the other alternative is? Trust funds, which is the absolute best way, in my opinion, for us to be handling, earnest money if we can. I understand that not all clients are techie, maybe not all clients are comfortable with that, and that's okay. But if having a copy of their check somewhere bothers them, then I would, it's nice to give them that alternative. So moving forward, it's just something that we're gonna, need from you guys when you're, turning in files. A lot of times the checks just get mailed in up to the front desk. If you could just be also cognizant of reminding your clients to fill in the property address in the memo section so that when we do receive it, if we receive it without a name or something along those lines, or we can't connect the dots, we have the ability to be able to look it up. Any questions with regard to that at all?
So yes, make copy of checks,
Yes.
yes, put a copy in your loop.
Yes.
So I have a question about if they do trust funds like that, earnest money receipt seems like a moot point. I mean.
You don't need the earnest money receipt if you do trust funds. Yep.
Just keep it.
Perfect. Okay.
I mean, it's really slick, and I hate change. And so when trust funds came out, my husband was like the first to use it because he likes change and he's used to that stuff, and it doesn't freak him out. Me, I just like to stay in my little comfort zone. And so I resist it for a while. I love it. It's amazing. I mean, you literally can go into the system and see when it was sent, when they opened it, when they sent the payment, when it was settled, right? I mean, it's awesome. No more having to ask people to send in a copy of their bank statement showing, that, and I'm sure that the lenders love it too, showing that the check has been cashed and all that good stuff. They do that for us. So no questions with regard to that? No? Okay, perfect. All right. I also want to talk a little bit about, at the last ALC meeting, they voted on, and we, modified an existing policy with regard to being on the on-call list. Is everyone familiar with what that is? Does anybody need an explanation as to what that means? The on-call list? No? Okay. So there were several requests actually to take a look at that policy and see what it looked like and maybe fine tune it a little bit. And so you all should have received in your email a copy of the ALC minutes. Those are coming out now after the ALC meeting, as well as a copy of the on-call policy that was passed. So I'm just gonna go over some of the highlights and then answer any questions if you have them. Is that all right? Okay. So agent must have completed and must maintain at least 5 transactions within a rolling 12-month period, right? The reason why we did the rolling 12 months is because everyone's caps start at different times, right? It's the only way to be fair and handle that. And it must be a combination of buyers and sellers. You don't have to have X amount of buyers or X amount of sellers, but just that 5 has to be a combination of the two, okay? An agent must designate one office as their home office and will be added to the calendar specific to that office. What that means is we've got Rochester, right? You guys know this is kind of our main hub, but we also have Onalaska La Crosse, we've got Winona, we've got folks in Austin. So if you're wanting to be on this on-call, then you have to designate one of those as your home office. Otherwise, it just gets nearly impossible for leadership to track that. Let's see, phones will be forwarded to the on-call agent outside of respective office hours, so when we're closed or after hours, on their determined dates. Agent must be available to answer phone calls, or if not able to answer immediately, respond within 15 minutes. If the on-call agent fields an inquiry of any kind, whether it be a phone call, an email, or someone walking in, and they're attempting to reach a specific agent of ours, so a Keller Williams Premier agent, okay? Or if the lead is inquiring about one of our agent's active listings, then the lead must immediately be forwarded to that agent requested. So that's, our company's mantra of your listing, your lead, right? No referral fee would apply in that instance. It is, however, the on-call agent's responsibility to verify that the agent they're requesting is an associate of KWPR. We kind of had some, well, geez, it seems like we're always changing. How do we know? There is a Google Drive that has an updated roster on it that you all have been given access to, whether you realize that or not. If you don't know where to find that, or you don't know what I'm talking about, talk to either Christina or Katie and they'll make sure that they resend you the link, but everyone has access to that. So if you're on that list or on the on-call, it's your responsibility to verify that. If they are not a Keller Williams Premier associate, the on-call is free to work that lead if they choose to, okay? So they vetted, it's no one's here, it's not their lead, they're not specifically asking for anyone, but it's yours to work. The choice will be left up to the on-call agent to determine if they want to work a lead or pass the lead on to another Keller Williams Premier agent. That came up because someone said, well, I'm mainly up here in Rochester. I'm likely not going to drive to, Winona, or I may or may not drive to Austin. So whoever's on call, it's their decision to decide whether or not they want to take that lead. And if they choose not to take that lead, then they can refer it to another agent who is willing to work that area. And then between the two of them, we decided not to set a set referral rate, but for the two agents to negotiate that amongst themselves. Does that make sense? Okay. A referral form must be completed, and agents are also encouraged to track the referral via KW Command Referral Network. It's pretty slick. If you've not done that before, it's a nice way for you to be able to track it pretty seamlessly. If there is a team or a group, they will have one spot in the on-call calendar rotation. The lead agent of the team or group will designate who holds that spot on the calendar. And then they may disperse the lead to team members as desired. So I'm guessing likely the team lead, will be that person, and then they disperse, the leads accordingly. But you guys can work it out however you choose to as a team or a group. And then teams and groups are defined by the Keller Williams International Standards for Awards. So if you want to know what that looks like or how that's laid out, you can find that on my KW Connect, or Kate can email you a copy of what that looks like. All right, and then last, agent is responsible for checking Google Calendar. We talked about this. We did talk about this. The Google Calendar to prepare for dates they're on call, and must alert staff in advance if there are any conflicts with their ability to be on call, or if they intend to switch days with another agent. And the on-call calendars are created by Cindy up in Winona, and they're available 2 weeks prior to the next month. So you'll have plenty of time when you get your dates to know when they are. So if it conflicts with something that you already have scheduled, or something comes up last minute, the onus is on you guys to notify Katie, and then we'll go from there. All right. So it's also the responsibility of the associate to contact the market center once you become eligible and interested in being added to the calendar. So we're not gonna put it on them to track, does someone have their 5? Do they have 5, and have they maintained it within the rolling 5 months? If you guys want to participate in this, it's up to you to track that and then let Katie know, hey, I'd like to be put on the list. Breach of the covenant or failure to be responsive when an on-call will result in being removed from the calendar for 6 months. A second offense will result in being removed for 12 months. And a third offense, will be result of being removed indefinitely, or abuse of any of those rules, may also put you at risk of being removed indefinitely. Zach was really clear when we had leadership conversations surrounding this, that he does not want this to become, an issue that could affect culture in any way. So if we feel like we're starting to slide in that direction, there may be some changes to the policy. So our hope is, and I know that you guys are the, consummate professionals, will hold each other accountable, to the policies. And then any disputes or misunderstandings, questions between agents are to be handled by the agents involved. We prefer prefer that you guys handle it amongst yourselves. But if you do fail to reach a resolution, you can seek, our help in helping resolve it. Any questions with regard to that? No? We're good? Okay, awesome. Moving on. All right. One of the things that we talked about at the ALC meeting that we want to make sure stays front and center is I asked them a couple of questions and I want to ask you guys the same, and I'm going to put some of our answers up here. So if you guys stopped for a moment and thought about what you feel right now currently is the biggest challenge in your business that you need training around, what would that be? You can take a few minutes to think about it. So I'm going to read that again. What is the biggest challenge in your business today that you feel you need training around? And when you come up with something, just shout it. And there are no wrong answers here. So think about an area that you might be, I don't know, frustrated with, struggling with.
I want to say command, but I don't want the training now.
And there's,
And you don't want the training now because,
I feel bad for the trainers and.
they're still working the bugs out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm hearing through the month of June, there have been some very large improvements. So we're hoping, of course, that continues. There's gotta be other things. What else? I don't want to start throwing them out there and giving you
I think
ideas.
North Star still,
Okay,
some of the tricks and trades and.
just navigating North Star.
Yeah.
Okay.
The nice thing that I do like to see is they've made some changes that they're taking into consideration what CMAR had and some of the things that we're suggesting. And it's nice to see some of those changes taking place.
Okay. Thank you for that. What else? Biggest challenge in your business you need training around?
I feel like, I've made all my contacts and now I've been in business for 3 months. And I need to be getting back to those people and I don't have a real system for sending a newsletter or,
So follow-up
I know.
systems or?
Yeah.
Okay,
I know Command is,
working towards that.
is set up to eventually be able to do that with MailChimp. But in the interim, I'm feeling like my people need to hear from me again really quick. And do I have to go and design a template and what do I have to do?
Okay.
Or is it a postcard or?
So like a 36 touch kind of thing that you're following?
Man, I guess I'm not really following nothing.
The communication calendar at Zach's class was fantastic.
Yeah.
We didn't spend any time on it. Everybody took out their phones. We're like, oh yes, take a picture of that. You can't really read it because it was pretty small font because it's getting the 12 months in there and whatever. But
So maybe
having something like that,
the communication calendar.
I know it's
communication
all
calendar
out there
and follow-up
somewhere.
system.
Did any of you guys email
haven't.
Kelly at
I haven't.
okay.
I mean, I know it's out there somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's like.
Because for those of you who are there, you know that you can reach out to Kelly, right?
Yeah.
And get a copy of that. Oh no, I'm having a brain freeze here. What else? Maybe I'm putting too much pressure on you. Don't come up with the class if you can't think of one, but what's the biggest challenge in your business right now? Maybe we can help you come up with an idea for a class that would help support that. So what do you feel is the biggest challenge in your business that you need training on? Biggest challenge in your business, period.
For me, it's definitely just tracking numbers. Like you feel like you get busy and then you're on like Friday, you're like, I don't know what did I do tonight? What's that? And just like I feel like maybe I'm just not, that's not a strength because I just keep pushing forward, but where do I stop and check listing appointment, check buyer, you know what I mean? Just doing the admin part of putting my numbers down. That part I'm like, oh, it just,
Do you
I
guys
think
have
I need accountability, and Trudy and I have talked
about this.
Well, and do you guys have a team, do you guys as a team have like a spreadsheet or, anything that you share that you can punch your numbers into and
We should
report,
do that.
like an Excel spreadsheet?
But I think it's about just having a system where you just do it. This is my time of the day where I stop and I punch in and it feels just like busy work, and yet when you get to the point where you're like, how are your numbers looking? I do your 411, I'm like,
Right.
I feel lost, like I just feel like.
Did you go to Jeff Glover?
I did.
I really liked how it, but I think something else that might help is I think we were inundated with Kelly when it first came out. But I don't think we know to the full ability that can work for us. And all you have to do is tell it. I mean, just push the button and say, Kelly, please add one listing to my listing appointment. And then follow her lead. And if you did your goals in Kelly, then it'll track it for you.
You guys might wanna come up with just like a team policy that, I don't know if you want it to be every day, but, every Monday, people are logging their numbers and then you hold each other accountable into making sure that those numbers are logged.
You could write $100 checks.
Yeah, I have a spreadsheet.
I love that.
I have a spreadsheet where I can report my numbers every day, and on my really, really, really busy weeks, I'm not reporting my numbers until Friday for the whole week. But I know that I've got to report my numbers. Number one, because I have people that are looking at them, and number two, it's holding me accountable to getting my appointments in, and also it makes me aware of where I'm at in relation to my goal. And that used to just irritate me because I'm not someone who is used to using those and reporting those, but it makes all the difference, right? Sometimes I feel like I'm doing way better than I am, and sometimes I'm doing much better than I thought I was. And so it's also kind of a mindset thing. I find that it helps me with my mindset as well.
And I don't know if that's a training, but I wouldn't mind sitting down with a bunch of agents going, what works for you?
That's a
Just
good
let's
idea.
throw out some ideas, and then that might be, I never thought of that'll work really well
Yeah.
for me. So
That
I don't
might
know if you call that training, but just some kind of a
Mastermind.
mastermind
Yeah.
on.
That might be a great question for the mega agent panel too, but I don't know that we have to wait until then to have that discussion. Okay, so another question that I threw out there, if you think of any more, let's put them up there. So here's a question that I love. And y'all are sitting here, so this is for everyone who might be watching also. What would need to happen for you to never miss a team meeting? What would need to happen in a team meeting? Food? Okay. I love the honesty. Food is a draw. Okay, food.
Food's a big
Love it.
deal.
We're having food today. So good. That's why we know why Kelly's here today.
That's right.
What else?
One thing that Zach used to do a lot of, that I feel like, we have to find a middle ground, but he would just do the numbers. DMAR is
The
like,
stats?
yeah, just the stats, days on the market is up, median sales price is now this year over year. And we would do that, a lot of that, and it was, I maybe a little bit like too much on that.
Right.
But like every team meeting go, okay, here's, like, let's pick 5 major things that we can talk to clients about that I don't have to go and dig around. And that's what North Star's hard to find some of that
It is.
stuff compared to these.
Well, and especially when you're not a numbers person that would normally seek that information out, it's kind of nice to have someone else share it with you.
I would love that.
So just a shorter version of numbers that you can use when you're speaking to clients.
And
would
even
be
if we had
nice.
something on the board that was days on market, or like, here's the month, so we're in, it's always a month behind, right? So the June would be days on market is 42, which is a down 2%, or, it's just something that we can even just come in and just go, those are the numbers.
Okay, awesome. Love it. Love it.
Yeah, you could just, if he emailed me, you just throw it on the screen.
What else?
I would keep it on the whiteboard all the time and just erase
yeah.
the numbers and
And
just
just have it up in my
so I can
left-hand
pop
corner.
in on Wednesday afternoon and go, yeah, that's.
But then you wouldn't need to come to the team meeting to get that.
But
Good point. Good
You know.
point. Yeah, good point.
I thought it was really good. Like, he would compare all of CMAR numbers to Rochester, and then Keller.
Right. What was
Compared to-
happening here?
We don't need to spend the whole hour on it like he would do sometimes.
Mhm.
But, to give us the sheets and then go, hey, here are the highlights, and then we could read the graphs and everything on our own.
Okay,
How can
so I'm
you
gonna
use
add
this
highlight
in
sheet.
your script when
Yeah.
talking to clients.
What else? What else needs to happen? or would encourage you to never have to miss a team meeting if you could help it?
I think a technology nugget.
Tech nugget? Alright.
Something like, you're not gonna spend an entire hour going to a command class, but there's this neat feature that, I mean, 10 minutes could give us a good idea of that it's there and it works currently, and maybe you want to invest the time to go and figure it out further.
Is anyone in here, or has anyone in here done the 66-day challenge? Because that is exactly what you're describing, and that's available to us right now. Who in here has done it?
I've started.
Okay,
I've
so,
started to, but
I will have someone repost that in the closed Facebook group, okay? That is a fantastic way for you to become acquainted with the technology that's happening, and they're just short little videos. They don't take much time, and you can just go through them and punch through them at your leisure. Yes,
I think something that helps all of us, and Sarah and I just started this, is, we sat down and decided how, as far as being accountability partners, and I think having a accountability partner that say, hey, we're going to team meeting on Tuesday. There's always information that comes up that we miss, and yes, we can go online and we can watch it, but maybe just having a group of us grabbing somebody else or being accountability and inviting them, to say, hey, we got the team meeting on Tuesday. Why don't we make a strong effort to be there?
I love it, right? I mean, it's one thing when I get an accountability partner, it's one thing for me to like let myself down and not follow through with something I said I was gonna do. It's a whole nother thing to let someone else down, that's an accountability partner. So as uncomfortable as, sometimes that makes me, I know that it's good for me because I'm not gonna let that other person down. It's much easier to let myself down. So I think that's a great idea. Glad you guys are doing that. Anything else? All right, last question. Who is someone you most want to learn from this year? Whether, they're with us or, one of the big people that you see on the stage. I always love listening to Aaron Kaufman in his profit share class, but, who is someone that we can either keep our eyes and ears open for that might be coming to a town near us, or maybe even potentially someone we could get here? Who is someone that you're aware of, that you're following, that you respect, that you're curious about, that you would love to learn from this year?
Mo.
Mo? Okay, that's a tall order. But
I know.
I am gonna put her on the board.
I love listening.
Who else? Someone you most want to learn from this year. And maybe it doesn't have to be a specific name or person, but a type of person. That's a tough one, isn't it? If you haven't had time to think about it.
I always think it's good when we get the cities Keller mega agent people, Jason Gorman and maybe Zach falls into that category, but
So other mega agents from
yeah,
Keller.
Yeah.
Maybe not here, but from the
Right.
cities,
right, or from the region.
from the region.
Larger
Okay.
Markets than our own, maybe.
Right, other than our own market, other major markets, and people who are totally willing to just say, take this to your R&D department
Yeah,
and work with it.
absolutely. I love it. Anyone in particular that you can think of, or just in general? Megas.
Well, see, I don't know any others
I was
besides the
just-
two I named.
All right.
Right.
Well, we will.
I don't know.
I don't know who I don't
What's
know.
hard is
Right.
knowing the names.
Yeah. I know lots of them. I'll put together a list and we'll start reaching out, see if we can get them down here.
Does Sean do any training?
Sean.
His dad is also in business, but, his dad's Doug, I can't think of Sean's last name.
Where's he from?
It's from the cities.
Up in the cities, Gores?
Yes.
Sean Gores? He does some of the tech training. He does some, and we were supposed to have tech
Cause I really
roadshow.
like being with him at Bold.
I think he was at Family Reunion.
Okay. He is one of the tech instructors for the tech roadshow. Oh shoot. And we were gonna hold one, the region actually had one put together for July and they had to cancel it for some reason. I'm not sure why. So hopefully that will be rescheduled and coming soon, but I'll put Sean's name up here and find out. All right, any others before we move on? I don't know if our lunch guys has showed up yet or not. I'm trying to leave him a few minutes in case, he wants some. So we're gonna work on that. And a couple other things that I wanted to talk about is the next career seminar. I'm gonna change the time up a little bit, see how it goes. We're gonna do it 4 to 5. So the next career seminar, we've been doing them 5 to 6, have a decent turnout, is gonna be July 10th. It's a Wednesday. So it's gonna be from 4 to 5 for those of you who are in conversations with people. Carrie, you got a couple people that are finishing up and are finishing classes and tests and whatnot. We actually have several people in class and in various stages of finishing class and testing. A lot of them who have come from the career seminar. So it's a great way for someone to come and spend an hour. You're welcome to attend with them if you like. If you don't have the time, you can send them here. I'll take good care of them. We share with them the typical day in the life of a realtor, what it takes to become licensed, a little bit about Keller Williams, and then they go into my tracking system, and I'm just, reaching out and touching base with them every couple of weeks. So I wanted to make you aware of that. The other thing that we have going on right now is Make It Camp is coming. Who, as of now, and I realize this may change, is going to Make It Camp. Okay, got a couple people in the room. So for those of you who aren't, hi Ted, for those of you who aren't aware of the dates, okay, Mega Camp is the 13th, 14th, and 15th. Most people fly in on the 12th because it starts bright and early on the 13th, which is a Tuesday. So me, for example, I'll fly in at some point on Monday.
Where?
At Austin. Mega Camp is always in Austin, which is where Keller Williams International is located. Okay. And so then they kick things off on the 13th. Gary Keller takes the main stage at 8 a.m. And then that first day is full of different breakout sessions. And then Wednesday, there's a general session with Gary Keller and Josh Team. That kicks off the day that morning. Again, breakout sessions. And then the last day on the 15th, there's a cultural summit, which is usually my favorite part, one of my favorite parts. The keynote speaker is Jim Stovall, and that's from 9:30 to 11, and a couple breakout sessions after that. So I would say the majority of people will take like a late afternoon flight back home on that last day, which is a Thursday. We've got mega leadership breakouts that go into the evening, so I usually fly home that night or first thing the next morning. It is a great way to network, hear about what's currently happening in the market, the state of the market, get company updates, as well as we're sending out invitations right now for guests to join us, and we take care of their flight, hotel, and Mega Camp ticket. And I'm talking co-op agents. So the reason why I'm sharing this is if you have anyone you've been in conversation with, or anyone who you haven't been in conversation with yet, that you think would be open to coming as a guest of ours to Mega Camp, please let me know, because we're making those contacts right now and reaching out to people right now. Zach's meeting right now with 2 of them. So, our goal is to get a decent number there. And there's really not any more that you need to share with them from a detailed perspective, other than I'd love to put you in contact with my team leader, or I'd love to put you in contact with Zach, or may I have Aaron reach out to you? Is it okay if Zach reaches out to you? Because we're having those conversations right now, and
You said the 13th through 15th of
August, I apologize, August, yeah. So it's all day the 13th, 14th, and ends, late in the afternoon on the 15th for me that evening. Any questions on that at all? Who's been to Mega Camp before? Trudy, you've been? Yeah. Anyone else besides Trudy and I? Okay, nope, all right, awesome.
I'm assuming there's a cost for it?
There is a cost for it, which I do not have in front of me. I want to say,
It's like $450,
Well,
$499.
it used to be, so they used to have Mega Camp and Tech Camp, and most agents would go to both, but there'd be a separate fee. Now they've combined the two, so it is more now, it might be $700. Don't hold me to that, but if you literally go to Google and type in Mega Camp 2019, all the info is gonna pop right up.
And we
You'll start to see more information that we start putting out there too.
we just got
Right.
we just got an email from Emily
Yeah.
at KW, who is the organizer for Mega Camp.
Okay,
And
perfect.
you can register, there's a button to register.
Yeah.
Mega Camp right in the email.
Yeah, so if you do intend on going, or you think you might
Yeah.
even want to go, I would recommend booking the hotel room. You can always release it and let it go, and there's always people looking for hotel rooms last minute. I'm gonna go grab Tyler, cause it looks like, or Taylor.
Hey,
Looks
Karen,
like he's
I wanna
here.
ask something, you brought it up at the beginning.
Yeah.
You were gonna do aha moments in regards to Zach's.
Yes.
Training.
Yes.
I-
Aha's from the 125 live training. Thank you for reminding me.
After
Takeaways.
I left that day, I was like, every single one of us should be at his trainings. He doesn't just talk about what the subject is and what he brings to us and how valuable he is. It's kind of like living in the same town as a relative. You know they're there, but you don't go see them. You know, you take it for
Sometimes that's on
granted.
purpose.
Yeah. But we seriously don't know how lucky we are, and the amount of notes that I took and the takeaway wasn't necessarily about those events. It was other information that both him and Carly fed us. I'm telling you guys, if you're not there,
You're missing out.
make a point.
Yeah.
Because what he's sharing with us is invaluable to your business. And that's why we're
And
here.
I always get like fired up.
Yeah.
After you listen to Zach.
Yeah, it was, I seriously wanted to do, I opened up my Facebook and I was gonna type something and I just was like, where are the words? I need the right words. That's how I feel. We're sitting with,
Yeah, greatness.
yeah, and we don't realize it. We don't realize how lucky we are. Not only is he doing the business, but how he educates us about the business is spot on.
Thank you for bringing that up, and I do think sometimes that that's overlooked, and you guys all know Zach well enough to know that he's not gonna walk around and toot his own horn. They run a very big business, and they run it, in a very lean way, so they have high profit. That's what he's all about, and that's what he spoke to. The other thing that's important to remember too is, don't just keep this to yourself. We had guests there, and we booked 3 capper appointments after that training because we had such good feedback. And we had co-op agents that were so fired up after sitting through that training. He's meeting with a couple of them now. So, don't be afraid to, or rather, don't keep it just to yourself. Make sure that you share these training events, because the ones that we have at 125 Live are always open to co-op agents, as is anything that's held here in the training room. So, yes,
Can you define a couple terms that you just used?
sure.
What's a co-op agent?
So anyone that's licensed at another brokerage anywhere other than Keller Williams.
And you said you had capper meetings after?
Sorry. So in our,
I'm so
in our,
glad
are we ready for him?
Yeah, are you ready?
Yep, so in our, area right here, a capper is about 2.3 to 2.5 million in production.
Okay,
Capper means when you hit that status where you no longer have to pay $70
Right,
and you're at
I get
100%.
that.
Yeah, so,
So these were capper agents with other
yes,
brokerage?
Yeah, so they have the
Exactly.
production doing 2.5 or
Okay.
better. bill
And now they're
in-
talking.
Yeah, coming.
Wonderful.
Flights to Mega Camp right now, if you go the 12th through the 16th, if you do Frontier, which I know, step up from Spirit, but it's 167 round trip.
holy smokes,
Wow.
that is a bargain.
And the flights are
Hi, Taylor.
direct
How are
flight.
you?
Come on
leaving at
in.
8:40 in the morning on.
So I think we have.
They come back at 1:20.
Okay. You want them to grab it and then come back in? Okay, perfect.
And beverages.
Okay. All right, guys, I am gonna introduce Taylor Metcalf with Country Financial. He says that lunch is in the break room if you want to grab it and then come back. He's gonna do a working lunch, right?
Yeah.
All right,
You guys would like to eat
drinks are
good
on the
high-V
way,
food.
but food is in the break room.
And you might, the first person to go through, you might need to open them up, so they're gonna be extremely fresh.
Well, thank you. Thank you for bringing lunch.
Of course.
There used to be t-shirts in West. Yeah. They were outlaws.
They're outlaws.
Thank you.
Melissa Gregg,
Melissa,
yes.
nice to meet you.
Karen.
Karen, nice to meet you.
And I have 12:20 is when I have to run for my daughter.
Okay, that's
So,
fine.
like,
I understand.
What do you have for lunch out there, Taylor?
There's a few things to choose from, like, I think chicken and beef, and they had some sides and they had some desserts.
who did it?
IV,
I just ate before I came over.
there's gonna be leftovers, trust me. Yeah, I think we ordered for 20 or 25.
Okay.
I think there's gonna be about 10, 12 today. So-
So did you end up getting, Stacy and Jacob.
Yes, they are coming in, I believe,
Thank you, are you gonna sit in on this?
tomorrow.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're going over and I sent the proof of insurance over to their lender, so that's all good. Just they're coming in Wednesday to go over all the final stuff.
Okay.
Explain the coverages.
Aaron, Miss Aaron, I'm sorry I missed your deal today. I've been,
No worries.
got a lot of things on my bucket list. I got.
Well, the good thing about what we're doing is we're recording, so you can watch it later at your leisure.
You're recruiting?
Recording,
Oh, recording?
yeah. I'll record it. In fact, I always forget to,
Turn it off.
yeah. turn it off. It just goes and goes and goes.
What was your guys' discussion on